There are times that riding with Brother James and I'm testing the ability of his mind to remember. And I told him, Brother James, you're my GPS. Okay, you direct me, okay? We're heading towards your place. Now, I don't know where it is, so please, be my GPS. And he said, okay, turn right here, and then boom, then turn left here, go straight, and there, that's my place. Oh, so I said, you're excellent, huh? You're excellent, still remembering your home. Because there are some people, you know, sometimes when they're old, it's hard to remember. I know of a friend of mine, a relative, and he kept on wandering over the place near to his house, and he don't know the way home. So how I wish I would not experience that, you know. And sometimes when I forget things that it's hard for me to remember, there's a tendency to be irritated. For me, there's a tendency for me to be irritated. There is a word that I would like to say, but I cannot remember that. Just like, for example, this, you know, when you have COVID, okay, there's that mild and severe symptoms. That word symptom, I lost it for 2 days. I can't remember. I said to myself, I have to recover my text message to my doctor, and then probably I will find the word that I cannot remember. Only to find out that there's no other word aside from symptom to describe the severity or, you know, the mildness of COVID. You know, sometimes I'm already 65 and I forget something, you know. That's what I have told you one time, that I was looking for my eyeglasses and I started to be frantic, to be, you know, confused, only to find out that my eyeglasses is just inside my pocket. We just, you know, we just, you know, our attitude will be just be happy about it. Don't be irritated, because that's life, you know. Sometimes we are in a very comfortable place, and sometimes we're not. So just accept, okay? And be happy. And with this introductory part, my mind is brought to the experience of the Israelites. And you know, the Lord understands. Before they had experienced all this apostasy, the Lord had already told them that they are going to break my covenant. But the Lord was so gracious to them. He knows what His people is going to experience. And the reason behind that I choose the topic, I'm going to tell you that this year and last year, I have heard 3 of my colleagues, their children, okay, committed suicide because of depression. So we do not know the reason behind. Probably because of COVID, so that long confinement, they don't have any association, so they're confined in the house. So that's why depression sets in, and they're not just child. One was a teenager, and 2 were adults already. Okay? They committed. So just imagine you are the child of a pastor, then growing in a family that worship the Lord every Sabbath. But how come? Too much is happening in this world. There's so much pressure inside and outside that disturbs the emotion and the mental condition of an individual. That's why I said to myself, I have to preach along this line. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 is our key text. Call upon me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things that thou hast not known yet. In the life of the Israelites, we can count the number of marvelous things that the Lord had shown to them, right? Just focus on the experience of the Israelite in Egypt. For many times, they have seen the power of the Lord. Yet, before that manifestation of the power of the Lord, in order to honor His name through Pharaoh and the Egyptians, the people of God, they complained, right? Because when Pharaoh heard the request of Moses and Aaron to let Israel go to worship him in the wilderness, Pharaoh made an interpretation that these people are lazy. They don't like to work. That's why they requested for rest. So he said, don't provide them with straw. And the amount of bricks that they should make should be the same. And because of this, the people's response, what? They clamored, they complained against Moses. This is your fault. Why we are experiencing this? So the story is told that Moses, called the Lord. Lord, what happened? So he blamed himself. Seemingly, I am responsible for the fate of the people. They're being put in a hard situation. Just imagine no straw, but they have to produce the same kind of number of bricks. Okay? They used to produce when they were still provided with straw. Very hard. But the Lord said, take notice. I am doing this in order that my name will be magnified, that my name will be honored. That's what the God said to Moses. And I am going to show to the Egyptians that I am the Lord, I am the powerful God. So can you remember some of the plagues, the manifestation of God's power in the presence of Pharaoh? Rod becomes serpent. And then what happened to the Nile River? It turned into blood. And all the water that is in the vessels, wooden and clay vessels, turned into blood. So what else? At random, no need for us to be in order. Okay?
Flies.
There's the flies, the frogs, lice, darkness, hail, and death of the firstborn. But what happened to the Israelites? Their children, they were spared. When the cattle, when the cows and the animals of the Egyptians had this plague, and they died, the Israelites' animals were untouched, right? Were untouched. And the Lord indeed was magnified during this time. He could have stopped the plague, because working out in the hearts of Pharaoh so that he will just give up. By one plague, Pharaoh will say, okay, go and worship your God, and that's it. So it will not be a very good magnification of magnifying the power of God for just one marvelous thing in the sight of Pharaoh. But it needs a lot of things, because the Egyptians were not worshippers of the true God. Moving forward, they were permitted to go, and the Lord guided the Israelites using the pillar of cloud during daytime and the pillar of fire during nighttime. And they were led to a place where they were trapped. They cannot move forward because of the Red Sea. They cannot go north because of that rugged mountain. And they cannot just go back because the soldiers of Pharaoh were there. So what was the response of the children of Israel? Because they grumbled. This is an impending death for them, right? They were anticipating that this is the end. But what did Moses say to them when they complained to Moses? Okay? They murmured, okay? Moses said, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Just stand still, be silent, and the Lord is going to work out for you. And when Moses cried to the Lord said, why do you cry to me? Tell the people, move forward. They have the responsibility to move forward. And you, Moses, your responsibility is to raise that staff and spread your arms towards the sea. And my responsibility is to divide the water. So they grumbled, and God manifested His power. I will show you great and mighty things. The title of the sermon this morning is Man's Necessity is God's Opportunity. And Patriarchs and Prophets tells us that in terms of what is necessary for man, hardships and privations, according to Ellen G. White. They were brought into a place that they will experience hardship. This is what they need. This is what they need. In order that His power will be manifested before them. That is when they call upon the Lord. So the Red Sea was divided. They were provided a dry place where they can set their feet in crossing the Red Sea. What a marvelous power manifested by God. That is only a God that is full of power. Then, what else? I can remember. How about Jericho? This was during the time of Joshua already, right? Jericho. What happened in Jericho? Did the Israelites go and pound the walls of Jericho? No, they did not. They just followed the command of the Lord. On the seventh day, you have to turn around the city for 7 times. And on the 7th time, there's a time for you to blow the trumpet again and then break that pitcher and, shout together. And the walls of Jericho just tumble down. Okay? Great manifestations of the power of God in times of their needs. What happened after 3 days? After 3 days after they have witnessed the parting of the Red Sea, they were moving towards Elim. Elim is a place, or was a place during the time with 70 palm trees and 12 wells of water. But before reaching the place, because they were walking for 3 days, they were longing to have water to quench their thirst, but no water. But when they were approaching Mara, one Israelite must have reached the place, and he shouted, "Water!" And then Moses was expecting for a frustration because he knew the place. He was there. But another voice was heard. "The water is bitter." And what next happened? What did the people do? They complained. They murmured again to Moses. Okay? And what did Moses do? Which all of them did not do. He called upon the name of the Lord. And Moses was directed to a tree. And God said, cut the tree and threw it into the bitter water. And Moses did. And the water turned to be potable, sweet. They murmured. What a kind of attitude. And Moses wondered even, he questioned these people. How come that they are doing like this? They have witnessed the power of the Lord. But how come that they still murmured? You're not murmuring against me and against Aaron, he said to the people. You're murmuring against God. Did Moses show his unbelief to God in his experience leading the Israelites? The answer is yes. All right? So remember in Meribah, where the Lord said, strike the stone once, and then water will be provided. That was a result of the murmuring still of the people because they don't have water. They murmured, and the water, came out of the stone. And since the time, so the water kept on flowing until the time that they were about to move to step on the promised land. And God said to Moses, you are going to pass in that area. So let the people pass there and do not irritate the people living there. They have to buy water. Okay? They have to buy their food. And what happened to the water that, keep on gushing? It stopped, okay, flowing. It stopped giving out water. But instead of the people trying to praise God, because that was a sign that their wilderness experience is over. They are going to step on a land that was promised by God. A very short period of time that they will experience probably, short of water, but not totally without water. The Lord permitted them to experience that in order to test their faith if they have learned to trust Him in all these experiences that they have, all the difficulties that they have encountered. But what happened? They still what? Grumbled. And according to Moses, the people is about to stone me. And the Lord said, go and speak to the rock, and the water will flow out of the rock. But what happened? Moses was irritated, right? Okay? And he accused the people of being rebellious, hard-headed. And according to Ellen G. White, accusing the people they were hard-headed, he was right. But how did he do it? He did it irritably, without demonstrating of patience. And at the same time, when he said, will you wish that I and Aaron shall get water out of this hard rock? He forgot the promise of the Lord that speak and water will come out. So it was a demonstration of faithlessness on the part of Moses. A big sin. As a leader, he should be an example. But he failed to demonstrate that faith before the people. Giving the people an occasion to entertain in their mind that in the first place we were right, that Moses is wrong. And he is just leading us into these places to harm us. The Lord was dishonored. Moses did not have faith in God. And that's why Moses repented and he kept on asking the Lord, please let me pass, and see the promised land. But instead the Lord bring him to the mountain and just look at this place, see the north side, see the south side, see the east and the west. These are the places that I'm going to give to my people Israel. But you are not going to get into this place. You can just see. Just imagine for that one single occasion that Moses demonstrated his impatience. He demonstrated. That's my struggle too. When I don't know if you have problem with patience. You're laughing. It's an indication probably that you are just like me. We're just like Moses. Eh? Moses is the meekest man, according to God. The meekest. But before entering the promised land, he wasn't able to. Came out, okay, from the land of Egypt, okay, and traveled into the wilderness. They were not able to get into the promised land because Moses said people aging 20 and above, meaning to say those 20 individuals, okay, those individuals at the age of 20 must have been from Egypt that went out because they wandered for 40 years in the wilderness. But Moses said, all those people that came from Egypt, no one of them will get into the promised land except Joshua and Caleb, right? Okay? All the rest died in the wilderness because of murmuring, because of complaining. Brothers and sisters, we might entertain into our minds that what happened to them? Of all the power that the Lord has shown them, how come? In Patriarchs and Prophets 284, paragraph 1, Moses was greatly troubled that these people should manifest so little faith in God. Notwithstanding, they had repeatedly witnessed the manifestation of His power in their lives. Did we see in our lives the manifestation of God's power? I think most of us. Even in those little things, just like what Dr. Carey said, the key, she can't remember where it is. I'm comforted, Dr. Carey. I'm not the only one forgetting. In little things, the power of God is manifested. My wife had been was visiting my father-in-law successively for 2 weeks. You know that we got sick, right? For more than 2 weeks. So that was the time that she stopped going and feeding her father. But in 2-week time, he noticed that his father stopped eating solid foods. He only drank milk. And this is one precious prayer that he uttered to God. Lord, Papa is not doing well. So if it is okay, just let him rest. Just let him rest. And that simple prayer was answered by God last Monday before 12 midnight. The Lord let my father-in-law rest, knowing that we will still see him again when we will be faithful in serving the Lord. And if he too has made himself clear before the Lord. So that's the condition. So simple things that happen that is manifesting the power of the Lord in our lives. And then one day I attended the meeting for the pastors in charge of the family life. There's a summit, youth summit, and they give us ticket, raffle ticket. And I received a raffle ticket, and they said you can choose a box where you can put your ticket, because when your ticket will be pulled out, you are going to have the prize. So I choose the box that in my mind says that there's $200. So and I prayed to the Lord, I need 200 because I like to buy tents for the homeless. And I calculated already, if every tent will cost me like $40, the tent good for 3 persons. So the $200, I can already buy how many? About 5 tents. So I prayed intensely. And But at the back of my mind, I said to myself, but probably the Lord has better things to do in order to answer my prayer. So I said, Lord, your will be done, but I trust. But at this time, if it is your will, let my ticket be pulled out. So I was seated on the table, and then the drawing of the ticket, came that afternoon, and first draw of the ticket, of course not in the box where I put my ticket, so the name was called, and then second, and the lady seated with me at the table, her ticket was pulled out, so she won the prize. Okay, and the next time the ticket was pulled from the basket, her number again was pulled out, so she won another item. For the third time, okay, she won, because the ticket that belongs to her, the ticket was pulled out. And I said to myself, Lord, now it's my turn. The box, okay, where I put my ticket. Lord, I pray, please give me the 200. Give me the 200. And lo and behold, the ticket was pulled out. And the ticket number was read. And it was not my ticket number. I lost in my mind the 200 that I think I would have. But you know what happened? The next day we had our prayer meeting. In Waterman, I have a small group of people there. I'm joining with a small group of people and having our Bible study. And when I related to them the experience, after the meeting, somebody texted me, I'll give 100. And then another individual texted me, I'll give 100. So 200 already. And there's another 100. Okay? 300. So just imagine. So the Lord is good, right? That's a demonstration of His power. I asked for 200. He gave me 300. I believe that, brothers and sisters, you too have God's manifestation of His power. Please think about those manifestations. Not only once, but many times we believe that happened. So, but Moses was greatly troubled that his people should manifest so little faith in God. Notwithstanding, they had repeatedly witnessed the manifestation of His power in their behalf. And even misinterpreting the token of God's mercy and God's care. Just imagine, in Patriarchs and Prophets 284, the servant of the Lord made this comment, the wonderful pillar of cloud had been followed as the signal of God's to go forward. But now, during the time when the soldiers of the Egyptians were there trying to corner them, but now they question among themselves if it might not foreshadow some great calamity. So in other words, they thought that the cloud was an omen of calamity. So they twisted in their mind, they interpreted another thing. For had it not led them on the wrong side of the mountain into an impassable? So they reasoned out. So how come that we are here in this place? We are cornered. We cannot pass. So for sure, we are going to die. That's why they murmured against Moses. Why did you bring us here? Was it because there's no grave in Egypt for us? That's why you bring us here? So they interpreted wrongly the manifestation of God's love. Yes, it is a very horrible thing when the soldiers are there almost to catch them and there's no way out. So they have this so-called anticipated grief, anticipated worries. It didn't happen yet. Okay? So they seem to be right. They seem to be reasonable. But they forgot that the Lord said, I am going to bring you out. They forgot the promise of God. Now, Thus the angel of God appeared to the deluded mind as the harbinger of disaster. They just twisted. And it proved that they need God still. They need God still. Hardships are very necessary to the outset. That's what I said to you. And it was necessary for them to encounter difficulties and to endure privation. Why it is necessary? Here, God in His providence brought the Hebrews into the mountains fastnesses before the sea, that He might manifest His power. That He might manifest His power. So they need to see the power of God. So they need to be exposed in a hard situation. He might have saved them in any other way. But you know what did God do? The Lord permitted difficulties to surround them and their supply of food to be cut short, that their hearts might turn to Him. So in other words, in times of difficulties, murmuring and complaining will not help anything. Worrying will not help anything, according to Jesus Christ. It will not help. Look at the sparrow, look at the flowers. They're not doing for themselves, but I, the Lord, make them flourish. Birds are being fed. So in times of hardship, the Lord is expecting that His people will turn to Him, who had hitherto been their deliverer. If in their want they would call upon Him, He would still grant them manifest token of His love. So again, difficulties and trials, they are permitted by God because we need it. Because through it, we can call upon Him. We can witness His power. This is also the kind of method that He used in order to test their faith. And not only to test their faith, but also to strengthen their trust to Him. Patriarchs and Prophets, 290, paragraph 1. Patriarchs and Prophets, 292, paragraph 2. So, not only in order to test their faith, not only that to strengthen their trust in Him, not only to encourage them to call upon Him, but in order to purify Him. So just imagine, no more food, no more water. No more food and no more water are God's instrument in His hand in order to reach the ends that I have just mentioned to you. Patriarchs and Prophets 293, paragraph 2 says, they murmur at the process by which God has chosen to purify them. They murmur. They need it. They need difficulties in order for them to be purified. Though their present needs are supplied, many are unwilling to trust God for the future, and they are in constant anxiety lest poverty shall come upon them and their children shall be left to suffer. This is an anticipated problem. It did not happen yet, but they have anticipated. They run short of food before fixing their tent in the border of the wilderness of Sin. That is in between Elim and Mount Sinai. But when they reached there, they murmured against Moses because their food supply were depleted. Their animals have diminished because there's no herbage in the area. It was a desert. And what happened to them? They murmured against Moses. And you know what happened at the time? The Lord told them, they had to see my glory. They will see my glory. And tonight I am going to give them meat. And in the morning I am going to give them bread. That was the starting point when the Lord gave manna to the children of Israel. And that manna kept on falling until they were about, or until they ate the produce of Canaan, where Canaan's manna stopped falling from heaven. Murmuring is not good, brothers and sisters, but trusting God is good. That's an alternative. Instead of murmuring and complaining, Jesus Christ said, if it's too hard for you, in Matthew chapter 11:28, just come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Just come to me, Jesus Christ said. And our text in Jeremiah 33, verse 3 says, just call upon God. Call upon Him. Go to Jesus, call upon God. And in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 7, just cast our cares unto Him. We cannot carry it. We are overwhelmed with our activities in the community service. It's hard. Just call upon God. Go to Jesus. After all, we are told by Paul in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, that he is not going to allow any hardship that will come to us that we cannot bear. But in all challenges, He always provides a way out. And the last text that I'm going to use, I would like to invite you to open your Bible in the book of Psalm, chapter 103. Book of Psalm, chapter 103. I am about to finish. Psalm 103, verses 1 and 2. When we are tempted to complain, when we are tempted to murmur, the prophet of the Lord, Ellen G. White, said, we have to utter these words. Bless the Lord, O my soul. No water, no bread. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Children stranded. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Pains, sickness. Bless the Lord, O my soul. And all that is within me. Bless His holy name. Bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget none of His benefits. We have to count our blessings instead and bless the name of the Lord, putting in mind that man's necessity is God's opportunity.